Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. I'm going to move quickly through this call. It's a little shorter call. I was actually on a call in Iraq, which I had to get off of in order to do this call, and I want to try to get back onto that call, or at least talk with some of the people that were on that call if I can't get back to that call on time. Things are a little chaotic over there. It's a mixed bag. In some regard, that's not good. In other regards, I think chaos is what we expected when we got finally to the end of this saga. So for those of you calling in for the first time, I hope you'll just listen to what we have to say here today and then go to our call of May 25th. That's a full call, has not only a little discussion about what's going on in Iraq and the Middle East, but it talks about the turnkey program we put in place to assist you, and I believe there was a brief Q&A on that one if I'm not mistaken. I'm also told that we're finally not only back up on YouTube, but we're on Rumble. I didn't get a chance to check that out, but hopefully we're on Rumble. If you go to YouTube or Rumble, you'll just go to those sites, and then you'll type in Trusts with an S, unlimitedllc.com, and then all of our previous calls should come up, and then you can select whatever date or dates you want to listen to. So let's quickly get into what seems to be going on in Iraq. We're, of course, anticipating the reinstatement and revaluation of the Iraqi Dinar and some other currencies as well. There are some prerequisites, so-called, to this happening. And the reason I say so-called is because there are legitimate differences of opinion about what does and does not have to be done in order for there to be a change in the exchange rate. And from our perspective, at least from mine at this point, I've been in this for over a decade, that's all I'm interested in at this point. I know that sounds selfish, but that's why I was involved in this to begin with. I was hoping this was going to get done way back in 2012. We had hopes in 2014. We had a shot last year. But what it looks like the holdup is passage of the oil and gas law, passage of the food security law, release of the new smaller currency notes, and at least opening, if not complete, passage of the 2022 budget. And lastly, of course, is the seating of the new government. Now, in my opinion, the holdup for all of this is pretty simple. It's the corrupt pro-Iranian officials who have been siphoning off wealth from the country for actually going back to 2003. And they are pro-Iranian Shia, and they want Iraq to remain a little piggy bank for Iran, also a buffer against Saudi Arabia. So that's primarily what the holdup is. Fortunately, these people are losing control, largely because of the new citizens' entitlement movement. And this movement, the catalyst for this really was the fact that the government of Iraq is now running a rather large surplus. We've got oil right now at about $118 a barrel. We got a budget that was configured at somewhere between $40 and $50 a barrel. So they're bringing in more than twice the amount of anticipated revenue. In addition, the government has a substantial amount of hard currency reserves. Now, the impasse in Parliament is between the tripartite, which is a loose coalition between the Kurds and the Sadrists, and the coalition framework, which are primarily Shia. And the concern is, at least alleged concern of the framework, is that the caretaker government is not in a position to fulfill any of the things necessary in order to move to the exchange rate. Now, why is the exchange rate important for the Iranians? The exchange rate, change of the exchange rate, means that Iraq will have an international currency. It means it can trade directly with other countries. It can, for the rebuilding of its economy, through assistance with the electric grid, water, roads, residential, all of the other sectors of their economy will blossom as a result of that too. And frankly, the Iranians don't want to see that happen. And our own government is not helpful to this end because they're negotiating, believe it or not, along with the Russians to assist Iran with the nuke deal. So it's just convoluted. It's all seemingly upside down. But the tripartite coalition, in response to the framework, is basically saying that it's the framework that is acting unconstitutionally by doing everything it can, refusing to show up, making sure there's no quorum in the parliament, going to the courts, doing everything it can to try to stop the formation of the new government. Now, the new government was supposed to be established 30 days after the election, so we're 6-7 months into their failure to fulfill their constitutional obligations. Now, let's say that the framework, let's say that the tripartite, the sadrists, the caretaker government decide that they want to proceed with these prerequisites, the oil and gas law, food security law, release of the new lower denoms, currency notes, and passage of the budget. The only other option available to the framework would be to go to the courts to try to stop it. And I foresee difficulty there. I have a hard time believing that the courts would try to undo the passage of some of these things, since it's clearly what the people want and since it clearly takes Iraq in the direction that it needs to go. And then, of course, in the law, there's a concept called clean hands. The best example of that is the guy who kills his parents. He's convicted of the crime, and on the day of sentencing, he throws himself on the mercy of the court because he's an orphan. Of course, the court's response is, "You're an orphan, sir, because you killed your parents. That's not going to fly." Well, the coalition framework's argument is going to be, we can't proceed with any of the things that need to be done, which the majority of people clearly want, because we only have a caretaker government in place, to which the courts could reasonably respond, agreed. However, that's because you have refused to allow a new government to be formed, so we're going to allow this to proceed. That's what I see going on. Then there's another strategy that Kazemi, as the caretaker, can hold, and that is he can really put pressure on the parliament to start funding the food security law and other things of that nature that go under that general umbrella of the citizens' entitlement movement and spend down all of the surplus. And, of course, the coalition framework doesn't want to see that either. So at that point, hopefully, they're just going to capitulate and allow all of this stuff to happen. But there is still a difference of opinion as to whether or not the budget can be passed and the exchange rate can occur with the caretaker government. The fact that it's never happened before indicates that it's a possibility. Also, we know that the caretaker government in the past has been extended far beyond where we are today, so there's precedent that's been established there. But the bottom line for me is the coalition framework is not going to be able to stop Iraq from completing what needs to be done, all of these prerequisites. Again, the oil and gas law, the food security law, the release of the lower denoms, the lower denomination notes, and ultimate passage of the budget. And so I still feel that we're in that 30-day window for the reinstatement of the dinar in country. Again, I'm sorry that this is a shorter call, but I want to get some information from Iraq. And lastly, I would suggest you go to our call of May 25th if you're calling for the first time, because there's some very valuable information there. Before I sign off, I just want to make mention of one other thing. In the last few weeks, I have started referring to our asset protection package as our family asset protection package. After doing this for a decade, and after looking at what's going on in this country, which is not that far apart from what we see going on in Iraq, whether you hold currencies or not, given the spine kleptocrats that are in Washington right now, we need a counter move to what I consider to be just a tyrannical form of governance. We've seen proposals for the increase of the corporate tax, increase of the capital gains tax, creation of a wealth tax, which is flat out unconstitutional. We've seen censorship for the First Amendment. We've seen surveillance in violation of the Fourth Amendment. Now we see pushes against the Second Amendment. All of these factors are creating problems for us. Then, of course, we have the overprinting of the Fed. We see inflation, which is really nothing more than the reduction of purchasing power. We see the creation, the attempted creation of digital currencies, which cedes all possession and control of the currencies to not even to the banks, but to the federal government. We even see a push again for a guaranteed income. Now, I'm going to explain to you very briefly how a guaranteed income has worked everywhere it's been tried. If we have a guaranteed income, fewer people will be working full-time, fewer people will be working at all. The result of that is a reduction in the production of goods and services. That creates hyperinflation. It also creates shortages. We're having shortages right now. So the only way to get around all of this, to the extent that we can, is through the creation of a package of family asset protection trusts. It eliminates their surveillance capabilities. It helps to circumvent much of the taxation, transition from currencies, from banknotes, and from financial assets to tangible assets. Pursuant to Section 643A and B of the Internal Revenue Code, it looks like the purchase and sale of tangible assets within an irrevocable trust package is tax deferred. So we can avoid a lot of the intrusion of the federal government. We can maintain control of our wealth. So, again, whether you have currencies or not, I strongly suggest that you seriously consider setting up a family asset protection trust package such as ours. Now, for those of you that will be listening to this call over the next couple of days, I strongly suggest you get our initial package. It has a lot of information about us, about trusts, about these currencies and their evaluation. You can review the package, contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you. There will be no consultation fee. By the way, you're under absolutely no obligation for getting our initial package, even though it does contain everything you need should you wish to proceed. You can go to our website, which is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc.com. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc@gmail.com. And our phone service is 307-274-4122. We plan to be back next week. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we will be back next week, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'm going to get back on this other call. I hope I have some good news for us next week. And I look forward to speaking with you then. Bye-bye.